looking at. This is the Nefer Papyrus, and it is found in the British Museum. At the top left, you have the personality Nefer. Here is his name, his signature, Nefer. And this symbol is a determinative, and it can mean someone who is a noble, someone who is majestic. And his full title is Asar Su Sesh Nefer. Asar, the royal scribe, Nefer. And he is in the dual posture, kneeling down with his hands, his arms upraised, his hands facing the divinities. And these divinities are the assessors of the 42 laws of Ma'at in this papyrus. So you have Ra, Tem, Shu, Tefnu, Geb, Nu, Erd, Aset, Nebehet, Hu, Sa, Wat, Resut, Wat, Met, Wat, Amente. So these are the divinities that will be assessing this personality's capacity of how they performed with regards to the 42 laws of Ma'at. On the bottom register, you have the Ka of Nefer. And you have the deity Anpu. And Anpu has held his hand and is guiding him into the Judgement Hall. In a Judgement Hall, this is a balance scale of Ma'at, and she is at the apex of the scale, the pinnacle of the scale. And you can see the plum is being hung on her symbol, which is her feather. And she has a feather in her bandana. So Anpu is working the scale, and he is kneeling on a shrine. On the left side of the scale is a heart-shaped vase, and that is the Ab, which is one of the 9 parts of the spirit. And the Ab is the unconscious mind. It's a symbol of the unconscious mind of this personality, Nefer. And this personality is purified instinctual mind. And that is the purified instinctual mind of this personality, Nefer. And purified instinctual mind is also operating on the scale. It's the same purified instinctual mind of this personality, Nefer. On the right side of the balance, you have the feather of Ma'at. So the unconscious mind of the personality is being weighed against truth. Truth relates to the proficiency of the 42 laws of Ma'at, the level of proficiency of the 42 laws of Ma'at, and relates to the personality depth of insight and experience into the nature of self and the truth of time and space, the truth of the world. So if there's personality, who Nefer ascertains that the world of time and space is an abiding reality, that goes against Ma'at, that goes against truth. But we'll talk more about that shortly. And if he has not gained insight into the nature of spirit soul, that also goes against truth. This personality, his name is Jehuti. And his insignia is here. Jehuti. Neb Netera. So Lord Jehuti, the great divinity. Jehuti is the intellect of Asarhu Nefer. So I think you're getting it. All of these aspects, all of these divinities are actually aspects of Hunefer that is going through the judgment. So it's your own psychic conscious makeup that is operating, that is performing the judgment. These are all aspects of your mind, your personality. So Jehuti is cosmic mind and intellect. His hands are shy and reninate. And you see him here, he has a writing palette and a pad, and he's writing down the outcome of the judgment. He's ibis-headed, while Anpu is dog-headed, the jackal. Shy and reninate relate to destiny and fortune. So his hands are the fortune and destiny of Asarhu Nefer. And Shy and reninate are two divinities, God and a goddess. And his hands are they. So you can see the sophistication of a henotheistic model. Now we're going to leave so we're going to work with this part of the paper for now, and then we'll get to this part later on. But this is the significant part for us this evening. Whenever you perform an action, and there are three primary ways that you can perform an action: by your body, by your speech, and by your mind. So your thought, your physical and mental actions, and your spoken action, your speech. Whenever you perform an action, and you're performing actions all the time, even while you're asleep, you're performing actions, even while you're in deep sleep. While you're sleeping and dreaming, you're performing actions. You're sitting by yourself, you're performing actions because you might be thinking about something, yeah, having some kind of thought or a feeling or an emotion. Whenever you perform an action, there is a residue that is attached to that is left behind by that action. A psychic residue. The residue of that action goes into your unconscious mind, goes into your app. So if your action was of a light nature, meaning righteous, meaning true, it goes into the app. If your action was of a heavy nature, meaning unrighteous, meaning not comporting with truth, that too goes into your app. So recall that the term audio relates to the sum total of all karmic acts. So all of them together are in your unconscious mind. And so they're all going to be calculated together. If you have a calculation that brings about let's go through the three possible outcomes of this process. And this is occurring within you, and it is most intense at the time of death because there are certain factors at the time of death that are not at play when you're not going through the death process. But essentially, this process is happening all the time. In the scripture in the temple of Luxor, we're talking about being formed, self-generating. You're being born from yourself, and the 9 parts of your spirit are being generated. So we're going to work within that context so that we can understand the point that is being made. So there are 3 outcomes that can occur. If your heart is deemed unrighteous, meaning your heart is heavier than the feather of Ma'ab, and how that occurs is that there is remorse, there is guilt, anxieties, unresolved issues, frustrations, unresolved negative emotions, etc., that are produced by negative acts or wrong thinking, wrong feeling, wrong acting. And so it's going to be, your heart is going to be heavy, you're going to be eating your heart. You're going to be filled with remorse and guilt. And what happens in that case is that Jehuti will write that down. And what's going to happen is that you're going to have a kind of condition through the process, a psychological condition through the process, through this divinity. This divinity is Amen. She is 1/3 hippopotamus, 1/3 lioness, and 1/3 crocodile. And she relates to the hellish conditions, mental torment, agitation, frustrations, sufferings that occur due to unrighteousness in the heart. And what that means is unrighteousness in the unconscious mind. And therefore, Jehuti is going to write out that this person is going to have a rebirth. So, and it's going to determine your fortune, how much of that suffering from Ahmed would the personality entail, what type of suffering they will incur, the duration, the intensity of, so the fortunes. And the destiny of the soul, the destiny of the personality. So the destiny may be that they have to be born into a family of thieves, or a family of beggars, or a family of psychopaths, or a family of sociopaths. And you can be born into a rich family, but your family is sociopathic, and it's not a healthy family environment. So your destiny might be born into a poor family that is caring and kind, or born into a rich family that is sociopathic. Or it could be the other way, born into a poor family that's sociopathic as well, or born into a rich family that is compassionate and kind. From the grand scheme of things, the conditions are different, but the problem is the same. And no one is really, except maybe from a materialistic perspective, no one is really better off than the other person. That's one outcome of the judgment. The other outcome of the judgment is that you may have performed sufficient spiritual discipline and to purify the unconscious to a degree where you extricate yourself from a physical existence. Because if the heart is heavier than the feather of Ma'at, it means that you have absolute no insight into the true nature of things. You believe the world to be an absolute reality. You think it's all real. You have not penetrated the illusory nature of it. And you have no awareness of the nature of the soul. But what if you gain some insight into the illusory nature of time and space, and you've had certain glimpses of transcendental reality? So you've done sufficient cleansing, purification to enter into the duat, the astral plane, but not to transcend the astral plane altogether. In that case, the heart is just as heavy as the feather of Ma'at, just as light as a feather of Ma'at. So you'll go into a heavenly plane, but there's still work to be done. There's still some deeper cleansing to occur. So what'll happen is that you'll continue your spiritual journey in the astral plane, in the duat. The other outcome is your heart can be lighter than the feather of Ma'at. So you've performed a full cleansing of the unconscious mind, and you have disintegrated thoroughly your misapprehension of the apparent reality of time and space through mystic union with one's own true divine nature. So you don't need no astral plane. You've transcended the astral plane. You don't need no physical plane. You've transcended the physical plane. And in that case, you will be led by Heru, which is your own spiritual victory, spiritual power, spiritual aspiration aspect that leads you into the inner shrine to be with Asar, Aset, and Nebuchadnezzar. So those are the three outcomes of the judgment predicated on your actions, the residues of those actions, and how they are stored in your unconscious mind. So now we'll go through a little of chapter 30a of the Book of the Dead, which underscores the issue at hand. So that is the text right above the balance scale of Ma. So from right here to right here, that's a segment we're going to discuss. Rao and Ab and Asar, Su, Sesh, Nefer, Dawi, Makiru, Jed F, Ab N Ab and Mut Hati Ab and Keperu, M Aha M Meteru. So words or chapter concerning the unconscious, the heart of Asar, the royal scribe, Nefer of the two lands, who is true of speech. These are his words. My heart, my heart, my mother, mine. My heart that has caused me to come into existence, to transform, to generate form. Rising up, me, let there be no resistance to my positive spiritual movement as my heart is weighed on the scale of Ma'at. Let there be no resistance to my positive spiritual movement as I have lived rightly and righteously, and so let there be no judgment against me. So the chapter of the heart, the chapter of the Av of the Asar, the royal scribe who Nefer of the two lands, meaning he lives in Kemet, who is true of speech, so he is spiritually victorious, enlightened. Heart, mind, mother mind. What he's saying here is that his heart is the mother that has brought him forth. So the unconscious mind is what has brought him forth. So there's an acknowledgement of the process of the condition of the unconscious mind that has brought forth or is the cause of the forms coming into existence. The forms relating to the 9 parts of the spirit, the forms relating to all of the generated aspects of the personality has come into existence. And that's the term keperu, like transformation, coming into existence because of the heart. The heart mind is meaning my mother has given birth to me is my own unconscious mind. And so that is being acknowledged, that this condition, this predicament, this problem of human life has been caused by my own unconscious mind. So that has to be acknowledged by you. You have to acknowledge by sitting and reflecting on that idea, reflecting on that principle, that you have all of your sufferings and all of your joys, all of your happy moments, all of your sad moments. That is because of your own mind, your own unconscious. And if that is acknowledged and recognized, then you put forth the work, the spiritual work, spiritual discipline to cleanse the unconscious. And the most powerful way of cleansing the unconscious is the practice of meditation. Meditation joined with wisdom teachings is a powerful combination of cleansing the unconscious mind. If you cleanse your unconscious mind sufficiently, your unconscious will be just as light as a feather of Ma'at. You would transcend the physical plane of existence, and you would experience a higher heavenly plane. But there's still work to be done because there's still duality. You're still relating to your personality and an other. And that's why you still do rituals and still do spiritual disciplines in your astral form. And what you are aiming at is non-duality. then let there be no resistance or karmic entanglement, no Aryu that's going to cause an impediment at the time of the judgment process. If there's an impediment, you're going to be rebuffed, and you're going to be reborn again. If there's no impediment, what's going to happen is that you'll have the other two outcomes, either the heavenly outcome or the transcendental outcome. The transcendental outcome is the supreme goal. The heavenly outcome is a step towards that. And those two outcomes are achieved when there is sufficient purification of the unconscious. So the problem with human life is the unconscious. The target of the spiritual discipline is the unconscious, because that is where the Aryu is stored. So you have to rearrange the Aryu, you have to reconfigure your Aryu. So think about it. If you are sitting down and having a thought about eating your most favorite meal, and that's storing emotions and feelings inside of you, and if all of that is making its way into, if the residue of that is making its way into the unconscious, so too is if you're sitting and contemplating on a piece of wisdom, or the nature, the true illusory nature of time and space, or the true nature of the soul, and the feelings and energies and emotions and hormones that those reflections generate, the residues from those actions are also making its way into your unconscious. So if you have more of those feelings, and if you have those feelings are strong enough, they're powerful enough to disintegrate the worldly feelings and the worldly ideas, the worldly emotions, combined with your practice of the art of meditation. What's going to happen is that you're going to cleanse the unconscious mind. And you're going to have a positive spiritual movement. So you'll be able to say, Emaha Meteru. If there's a full cleansing of the unconscious, Heru is going to guide you into the inner shrine where you'll join Asar. So you won't be living in Asar city in the heavenly plane. You would be essentially one with Asar, with spirit soul. Just as a matter of clarity, we have the four sons of Heru here, sitting on a lotus before Asar, who's holding a crook and a flail. And he is Asar Kenti Amente Netera Mejat. So Asar, the foremost of the netherworld, the great divinity who is transcendental absolute. And then you have the four sons of Heru: Meseti, Hapi, Duamutef, and Kapsunu, but they made a mistake. They didn't put Kapsunu's name here. Supporting Ashar in the inner shrine is Aset and Nebehet. It's two goddesses that are always with Asar. And the four sons of Heru standing on a lotus flower. And so this document substantiates what is said here. So we're showing proofs. So from a scholarly perspective, this is what we should be doing. It's showing corroborating documentation. If you read my books, you see that that's what I tried to do. So, readers can see where the conclusions are coming from, how they're formed, how I get to them. So the Aryu is what is causing the tutu. So the Keperu from the Nefer Papyrus is a process by which the tutu are formed. So the Keperu is like the transformational process that brings about the forms. And so we are running out of time, so we can talk more about that next time. Okay, and if you have any questions, you can send them through the email. So we'll do a closing chant, and then that'll be it for this evening. We'll do a chant to the Nefer Papyrus. Nesudihatet ne perkira, diriaska oab amune nefreshepsi, et ne tete, emaha era emete, emaha era emete, emaha era emete, emaha era emete. Ketep. Do everyone till we meet again. Ketep.
Do it.
Do it.
Dua, Hetep.